Hi there, welcome to e-GMAT, where we solve every SC question by using one unified scientific approach that we call the meaning-based approach. My name is Shraddha Jaiswal. I'm a senior verbal SME at e-GMAT, and today we will solve this difficult OG advanced question by using this three-step meaning-based approach. The first step in this approach is the meaning analysis, in which we try to understand the meaning of the sentence by breaking it down into smaller chunks. This breaking of the sentence really helps, especially in case of those sentences that are so context heavy, as we can see, and that incorporates so many different layers of meaning that requires our attention. So let's get started. Let's first read this sentence and try to understand what it says. Lacking information about energy use. Okay, so the sentence is saying that there is some entity that lacks information about energy use. Reading further, people tend to overestimate the amount of energy used by equipment such as lights. Okay, so who are those entities that lack information about energy use? It's the people. So the sentence is presenting very generic information about people, that people lack information about energy use, and so they tend to overestimate the amount of energy that are used by certain equipment, and the example of that equipment is lights. So pretty straightforward so far. Let's read further. That are visible and must be turned on and off. Okay, so the author is talking about a very specific equipment in this part of the sentence. What kind of an equipment? An equipment that are visible, that can be seen, and must be turned on and off. Okay, so putting everything together for this till this part of the sentence, we understand that people lack information about energy use, and so they tend to overestimate the amount of energy that are used by equipment that are visible and must be turned on and off. And one of the examples of such equipment is light bulbs. Okay, reading the last bit of the sentence. And underestimate that used by unobtrusive equipment such as water heaters. Okay, so people tend to overestimate the amount of energy for a specific kind of equipment, and they tend to underestimate the amount of energy that is used by unobtrusive equipment that is generally not in their sight. And one of the examples given here is water heaters. Now, just a little note for my Indian friends. They must be wondering that why water heaters have been presented as an example for unobtrusive or out of sight equipment. Well, in India, our water heaters are really personal kind of an equipment. They are small, they are fitted in the bathroom or outside the bathroom, and they can be turned on off as and when needed. But here in the United States, just like our central heating system, the water heaters are also they are humongous machines, and they are generally located either in the garage or in the basement, depending on what kind of a unit you are staying in. But yeah, just like air conditioners in India, they are also individual units. Like for every room you fit in an individual AC, and you can turn it on and off as and when required. But that's not the case here in the homes in United States. Everything is centrally air conditioned, and the unit is, again, it's a huge unit that is either situated in the garage or in the basement, depending upon what kind of house you're living in. So because GMAT is an American entity, GMAT is an American test, that's why this sentence has been written from the perspective of how things operate here in the US, and that's why water heaters have been presented as an example of unobtrusive or out of sight equipment. Okay, so with that side note, let's sum it up what the sentence is trying to say. It is saying that people in general do not have much information about use of energy, and they end up thinking that visible electrical appliances that are turned on and off use more energy than those appliances that are unobtrusive or out of sight. So basically they think that the visible appliances take more energy and the out of sight appliances use lesser energy. That's what we understand by the expressions overestimate the amount of energy and underestimate the amount of energy. And then we see that the author presents examples of these two different kinds of appliances. Visible must be turned on and off, electric light bulbs. We do that all the time. And for unobtrusive equipment, the author presents the example of water heaters, central water heaters that are used in the US. So the way the sentence is written, the meaning is absolutely clear. It is logical. No issues in understanding the meaning. Now that we are 100% sure of the meaning presented by this sentence, let's move on to our second step, which is the error analysis, in which we try to understand the grammatical errors in the sentence. Now, in the underlined portion, we see this word equipment. Okay? Now, equipment is always singular. It doesn't have any plural form. It is a non-countable noun. Okay? So with this, the usage of this plural verb are, well, yes, the subject of this verb are is that, but that is referring to what? That is referring to equipment. But equipment is always a singular noun, and so the use of the plural verb for this singular noun is actually incorrect. So we definitely have subject, verb, number, agreement, issue in this sentence. Okay, so this is the only error that we have in this sentence. Now that we are looking at the grammar of the sentence, I would like to draw your attention to the usage of this pronoun over here, that there is no issue whatsoever with the usage of this pronoun. Why? Because this pronoun that is actually referring to this noun phrase in the sentence, the amount of energy. So this is the antecedent for the pronoun that. So if we read it in its entirety, the sentence says that people tend to underestimate that. That means the amount of energy used by unobtrusive equipment. Okay, so we are talking about that kind of energy, that specific energy that is used by unobtrusive equipment. So there is no error with regards to the pronoun reference in this sentence. The only error that we found out was the SV number agreement. Okay, so we need to fix this part in this sentence, and then everything looks almost fine. But we will still scan through our answer choices and see what's going on in here. We've already found out that choice A is not the correct answer. Choice B repeats the same error. We again see this SV error in choice B. However, choice B also introduces two more errors. The first error is of this pronoun it. Now, it and that work very differently. You can say that it is pretty independent in its reference. So when I use the pronoun it or they, it refers or it acts as a replacement of the noun that has been mentioned in the sentence. So In choice B, the pronoun it actually ends up modifying not only the amount of energy, but the specific amount of energy that is used by equipment that are visible and must be turned on and off. Okay, so it exactly works as a, as a replacement for the noun. Also, when we were looking at the usage of that in the original sentence, we said that the usage of this is absolutely fine. Why? Because that is immediately followed by used by unobtrusive equipment. So the intent that that is meant to express is absolutely clear. The amount of energy used by unobtrusive equipment. So there is nothing coming in between that and used by unobtrusive equipment. So it limits us from saying that that is referring to the whole noun phrase. No, it is not, because that is very, very specific. It is dependent totally on this particular phrase over here to present the intended meaning, but that is not the case with it. Firstly, there is a hindrance between it and used by unobtrusive equipment. So when we have it in the sentence, it acts pretty independently, and it will stand as a replacement for the exact noun that has been used in the sentence. In the case of this sentence, that noun is the amount of energy used by equipment that are visible and must be turned on and off. So if we plug this entire noun antecedent in the sentence, we understand that the meaning that we are getting here is absolutely illogical. So use of pronoun it is incorrect in this sentence. Okay, that was our second error. Then we look at the use of when. When is used very, very literally in GMAT SE. You can make a note of this point. When we use when in any sentence, we are, especially in this sentence, what are we saying by using when over here? We are saying that people underestimate the amount of energy used when they are used by unobtrusive equipment. So that means people only underestimate the amount of energy when it is used by unobtrusive equipment. If the unobtrusive equipment is not using that energy, then people don't underestimate the amount of energy that they use. Right? So this is absolutely an illogical meaning, because we are not talking about any specific condition over here or any specific time of that action of underestimating here. The sentence is presenting a general information that generally people overestimate the amount of energy used by certain equipment, and they underestimate the amount of energy used by certain other equipment. So use of when is absolutely wrong, because it presents a very specific timing of the action of underestimation, which is absolutely wrong. Take a look at choice C. Easy to eliminate. Why? Because it corrects the SV error. If you see, this choice does use the singular verb is over here, which is absolutely fine. But once again, we see that it repeats the same error that choice B had with regards to the usage of it and when. Choice D, very, very succinct and absolutely the perfect answer choice. Exactly what we were looking for when we were analyzing choice A. We said that, hey, the problem is the subject verb error. That error has been totally taken care of. In fact, choice B is so much more succinct as it uses the expression visible equipment. This whole part that are visible, that has been taken away from this sentence. And the sentence uses this very succinct expression, visible equipment, such as lights that must be turned off and off, and underestimate that we have already established why the usage of that is correct in choice A or in the original sentence, and hence there is no problem with choice D. Absolutely pretty and beautiful sitting out there. Choice E, again, incorrect. Again, very, very easy to discard if you understood how the usage of it and when brings about error in choice E. So choice D indeed is the correct answer choice. With this, now let's quickly take a look at our takeaways. We must make sure that all the subjects agree in number with their verbs. That's one of the blatant errors that we can find out in any subject sentence correction problem. So keep an eye for that. Also, keep this thing in mind, and very recently we incorporated this learning in our course also, that pronouns are just replacements of nouns. Okay, so if we are using, let's say, pronouns like it or they or him or her, it would refer to a very specific noun that has already been used in the sentence. But with that was not the case, and we analyzed the usage of that versus the usage of it in this sentence. So pay attention to the structures in which these pronouns have been used. Try to understand the meaning and then determine whether these pronouns have been used correctly or not. Last but not the least, the word when is used very, very literally in GMAT SC. It presents a specific timing for an action. If that is what the author intends to communicate, then its usage will be correct. But if that is not the case, if the author is presenting generic information, as we saw in case of our energy use question, then definitely the usage will be wrong. All right. So, that's about it for this question. Thank you so very much for watching. Please make sure that you like the solution so we know that you were here, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more solutions and articles. We are working really hard to make great content to help you on your GMAT journey. Also, please check the links in the description below for more helpful resources. Thank you so much and happy learning.